So often with these ideal coach builds, it's just kind of separated by just how you should do it if you're a big school or a small school. If you have any pre order bonuses or now the MVP bundle bonuses, but whether you have an extra 100 or 150 extra coach points, most of these do build from level 100, as if you will definitely be getting there, which respect if you grind that hard, but I've never gotten there before, probably not the only one, so that's kind of why I wanted to make this one today, just to show what the process would look like as you're building it. So I'm going to start with as if we're going with a small school build, and I have the MVP bundle, so I'm going to be doing that with the extra 150 points. And because of those extra points, I'm going to start with recruiter and get tier 1 on every position but kicker. Especially at a small school, you have to know where you're allocating your points, especially with NIL. So I always want to make sure that in my first preseason, I'm maximizing my scouting so I can right away have a few fully scouted good recruits I can go for. And of course, I'm going to be getting Rainmaker as well with the bundle, and I think these are all great abilities, but as a level 1, we've got 160 points, so I'm going to hold off on staying power, and as long as I get to level 2 by the end of the season, we can get that as well, and you don't really need it to start the season. And as far as Visionary goes, it says you have to create a coach in Madden 27, so I don't think we'll be able to use this day 1. All of these are good too, but I want to wait and see what happens with the game before I go for it. And I do think if I had to go for one first, I would go with Practice Makes Perfect. And at level 3, you could get that. I mean, you can even get it at level 2, really. Sign-in bonus, I'd probably wait until I'm in a contract year, so probably not right away. And Pro Pipeline when I have good players. So for 2 of the 4, I think you can wait for Madden to come out if you're doing just one Dynasty. Now, the next step kind of is when you get to level 10, since that's when we unlock Motivator and Tactician, and this is where I'm going to be looking at what direction we're going, because as a small school, some of these archetypes are harder to get than others, especially this year in particular. You're not going to be getting a top 5 recruiting class as a 1 or 2 star school, so I think we can rule out Elite Recruiter pretty quickly. Also, getting 2 first round picks is going to take some time, and winning 4 bowl games takes time unless you're winning a natty, and winning 2 means your rebuild is complete anyway. That's more of your larger schools that would be able to do that, or even just winning 5 playoff games means you're kind of more ahead of schedule. And Scheme Guru will be a hard one too, especially if you're picking like a MAC school. You aren't playing 8 top 25 schools for a few years unless you want a really tough schedule, and even then you're not guaranteed to win all of those games. And that's why when I get to level 10, I'm going to be using the 205 points on both Motivator and Tactician, which leaves us 105 left, and some of you may want to use those in Recruiter, get better starting interest, and there are 2 reasons why I want to hold off on that. One, so I can get off-season boosts from level 3 in Motivator for the recruits that are most important for my rebuild, and 2, because Tactician gives 450 XP per win as its perks, so I make sure to spend the most on that one at first, get more XP quicker. So I'm going to buy all 4 perks for offensive linemen, try to win in the trenches. If you don't play the games, I probably wouldn't get Tactician. I'd spend the points in Recruiter and Motivator, but I do play the game, so I do want to have these boosts, especially early in my rebuild. And doing this means when you get to level 25, you can get 3 of these positions to level 4 in Tactician, and 4 of the positions to level 3 in Motivator. All depends on what positions matter most for you, which depends on where you're getting your recruits from. Maybe you're getting a star quarterback you want to develop quicker. Maybe you want to really build your O-line. Maybe you're building defense first. And, as you're trying to build these more and more, it is level 45 that you'll be able to get enough points to max out all these positions. But I'm going to be keeping running backs at level 3 in Tactician just to save some final points for later, because I do think this is the least important tier 4 upgrade in Tactician. Depending on how much you throw to your running backs, maybe this is a very important one for you, but for now, I think that there's a better way for us to spend our points, and we'll see that at the end. So our next question is obviously, where do you go next? Because you've probably had some success at this point. If you're at level 45, some players drafted, and this is where you could maybe have enough to be able to unlock strategist, master motivator, architect, or scheme guru, even program builder if you've gotten to the playoffs but just can't finish the job for whatever reason. But this is definitely where it starts to become an ideal coach build, so I'm going to put it on level 100 and see what it looks like from here, because we'll have about 1400 points, and since it's an ideal build, we'll put everything on the table for it, including CEO. But first I'm going to max out Visionary, so that's 1330 left. And what you'll notice here is that to get talent developer or strategist, you do have to spend another 95 in recruiter. So even though strategist can be huge for a small school, especially levels 3 and 4, I think it's more efficient to spend the points somewhere else. Starting interest could be very important. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but sway isn't something that's really used a lot. At least I don't really use a lot. So personally, I'd rather try to count more on my improving grades rather than spending 45 points per position group to then spend in archetypes where the best perks are then level 4s, so that's pretty expensive there, and I think we do have some more efficient options on the other side of the tree. So to replace talent developer and strategist, which you're going to see in most ideal builds, we're going to be looking more to architect and master motivator. For architect in particular, these first 2 levels, I think you're going to be able to replace the XP you could be missing out on from talent developer, and this way you're not having to spend as much as you would be to normally get all 4 levels. Obviously, it's a huge bonus to get those extra points when you have somebody drafted, but it also costs a lot more. So this way we're going to be able to get the first 2 levels for all 7 position groups, and that's going to help replace those first 2 tiers of talent developer, and it's only going to cost us 445 points. And with Master Motivator, we're not going to have enough points to max out everything, so I sacrifice running backs and linebackers in particular. Running backs have been kind of easier to develop in past games, maybe I'll be wrong there, and linebackers are kind of harder to develop anyway. They don't get as many points, but the reason why I look to Master Motivator here is because with Tier 3, that's going to help us with where we lose on Strategist, where instead of players having lower thresholds for wanting to transfer, we just have them as less likely to transfer as a whole. And then again, Tier 4 is going to help us with XP, so again, we may not be getting extra XP because somebody's getting drafted, but we are getting a lot of XP in every situation. And then no ideal build is complete without having CEO, so that's where we're going to be spending the last of our points, as we're going to be able to afford 2 final abilities, and the 2 that I think are the best here are the more the merrier, because getting 8 guys on complimentary visits is a huge boost for any recruiting battle, and then lasting impression to boost what your recruiting hours mean. Gainsgetter is obviously very tempting for reasons that I don't have to say, but I prefer a little more certainty at this cost in particular, and this isn't as much about the ideal coach build here, but I do wish that they put bundle discount in with Visionary or Rainmaker. Same with faster progression and program builder. Those can be pretty cheesy if used right, but the only time it's really worth it is when you start as a coordinator and you're just specifically trying to build like the cheesiest coach possible, and if anyone's interested in that, let me know down in the comments. I'll wait until the game is out for that video because it's kind of harder to show on this site just how good it can be, but seeing all those extra points add up, you can definitely get a lot of extra perks and a lot of whole different archetypes you can build too if you get the right coordinators. Maybe they patched it out of the game though, who knows. I'll have to wait and see when I actually have the game in front of me to see if that still works. And then looking at the build overall, I'll admit for me, I like to keep recruiting challenging, so that's why I don't like to spend as much there, Same reason why I spend more in Tactician, because I play the game, so if you don't, then yeah, put all these points from Architect and Tactician into Recruiter and Talent Developer. I'd still hold back on Recruiter so that you get more positions in Talent Developer. I still think Master Motivator can help you out for what you lose on Strategist, but that's where it becomes more how do you play the game and where you determine what your ideal build is, and I think this still provides a challenge while improving you in more quantifiable viable ways. But now I want to shift the question to you. Who's your first school going to be in Dynasty? I got a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of North Dakota States this year. Obviously, this is my first video with this channel. If you like Star Wars or Harry Potter, you can click on this over here for my other channel. Also got some Wicked videos and a smattering of other fandoms there, so make sure you give that a click too, see what I got going on there. I'm going to be starting my own Dynasty here pretty soon if you're interested, and play through some retro games too, so subscribe if you don't want to miss any of that. But that's all I got, so drop a like if you enjoyed today, and I'll see you next time on Supernova Gaming.